I remember good advice that I got, but I don't remember.
The reason I changed it up from what's the best piece of advice
Sure.
because most people go like, oh, stick to it.
Oh yeah, none of that was good advice. I think actually the worst piece. I mean, Charles Bukowski, who was a wonderful writer, he thought that the worst piece of advice you give anybody was to stick to it. And my dad, I was very, very close to my father and mother. It's very fashionable, especially in show business, to talk about dysfunctional families. And I had the opposite of that. I had a mom and dad that I was very, very close to. And my dad was very supportive, but knew nothing about show business. Nothing about show business. And I was from a small town in Western Massachusetts, where the first person I met in show business was me. There was nobody else. As a matter of fact, I was doing little juggling shows when I was 12 years old at nursing homes and talent shows and so on. And so I was so desperate to be in show business that I was working when I met Teller. Teller's 7 years older than me, and I was 18 when I met Teller. He was already a teacher. When I met Teller, I was working on getting my projectionist license. Because at the time, in order to run a projector, you had to use one of those ARC things, and you had to get a license for that. And I thought, and I guess I'm proud of this, I thought, well, I could at least be the projectionist at the theater in my hometown, and then I'll kind of, sort of be in show business. I was already the marquee changer, and that was my first, regular job in show. I was the marquee changer, and that was really great. I got to see all the movies free, and I got to put up all the marquees. And I worked successfully as a marquee changer until I was complaining to my boss. We had really old letters. What you do is you put the letters up there and you cross them out, figure out the new ones that are going up there. And we were really short on eyes. There weren't that many eyes. The eyes break easily, right? They break easily, and it's also a common vowel. It's the second most common vowel. So the eyes were going away. So I said, we don't have enough eyes. And he said, just fill in, you're clever. So Dirty Harry came in with the eye in Dirty Harry, and then there was also another movie with an eye in it, and I was short an eye. So I figured, Clint Eastwood, you put an L and an I together, can't you just use a U? So I put that up on the marquee, and that was my last day working as a marquee changer. But my dad, I told him I wanted to go into show business, and my dad said, and I have to stress, my dad was the most wonderful man I ever met. I want to make that very clear, because I don't want to disparage him in any way. But when I said I want to go into show business, my dad said, you think you're Johnny Carson? Because that was his only view of it, you'd be in show business. And I said, well, no, Dad, but there's people that do a lot of other stuff. And my dad said, well, gee, it seems really hard. I mean, we live here in Greenfield, and there's no show business here. It doesn't seem it seems like it's gonna be really hard for you, Penn. And I said, well, Dad, you gotta be more supportive. And my dad said, if you need me to get you into show business, you haven't got a chance. And I think, I'm sorry, I kind of choke up talking about my dad, but I want to make clear that that was said with love, and I think that idea that you've got to do it on your own. And Charles Bukowski says the best advice you can give anyone who wants to be a writer is quit. Quit now. You're not good enough. Give up. Just quit. You're not good enough. Give up. Because if the person really needs to be a writer, really needs to be in show business, they will go on anyway. But if you're buoying up someone who's going to quit later, get them to quit right then. And I think so maybe you've given me the answer after I didn't have it, which is the worst piece of advice is stick to it. Go. You can make it. I remember I was on a radio show with my buddy Tony Fitzpatrick in Chicago, and we were on with another author, a crime author whose name I'm never going to remember. But we were on, this guy, it was like that call-in show, that jive shit. And a guy called in and said, I really, really want to be a writer. I really want to be a writer. And Tony and this other guy said, well, stick to it, man, and don't give up no matter what. Just keep going, keep trying, keep pushing. And then I said, unless you suck. I mean, you have to remember that you have to take no for an answer sometimes. You really do. So I guess my worst piece of advice is stick to it. I tell my children two things. I tell them, one, quit. Things aren't going well, quit. And two, don't do your best. They always say do your best. And I say, if you always do your best, that becomes your average. Save your best for when you need it. Do the minimum you can to get by, and then you've got in the tank some best left to go. Right? You save your best for when you're lead guest on Jimmy Fallon. If you're third guest, you can coast. No one's watching it anyway. So I would say don't do your best and quit. Phyllis Diller, who was a friend of mine and a huge hero of mine, Phyllis Diller said that was how she found her success, is she would try a zillion things, and if they weren't easy for her, she quit right away. And she said her first day on stage doing stand-up, it went pretty well, seemed easy, so she stuck with that, which is just an amazingly weird way to think of it. But there may be some truth in it. But Phyllis Diller and Martin Mull are the only two people I've ever met who can do three things. Phyllis Diller was a concert pianist, and a very good one. She was a fine painter, and she was also one of the most important comedians of our lifetime. And Martin Mull is probably better known and more successful as a painter, but we all know one of the funniest actors, one of the funniest performers in stand-up ever, and a sessions quality guitar player. So some people can't do anything, and some people can do three things. Any other questions?